The El Chapo trial turned into a soap opera as the drug kingpin's messages with his wife and mistress were read out to the room.
In those messages, the FBI learned how El Chapo bought his chemicals from China and Germany and smuggled his drugs into the U.S. through Arizona.
The Sinaloa cartel is in chaos. Rumors are flying, power dynamics are shifting, and the arrest of the notorious El Mayo has left everyone in shock. And now, he's sending some kind of message from jail? Is there a betrayal within the cartel's top ranks? What does this mean for the future of one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got a huge story that's just breaking. Leaked text messages from none other than El Chapo and El Mayo. That's right, the infamous drug lords who have been making headlines for years are in the news again. But this time, it's because of some explosive texts that have just come to light. These messages reveal surprising new details about their operations and might shake things up on both sides of the US-Mexico border. Imagine getting a peek into the conversations of two of the most notorious criminals in history while they're behind bars. That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Ismael Zambada, aka El Mayo, meaning the man with the hat, a longtime co-founder and leader of the Sinaloa cartel, has finally been arrested and has landed in prison. His arrest comes years after El Chapo's arrest in a suspicious manner, and there has been a scent of betrayal hanging in the air around the Sinaloa cartel, and because of his arrest, El Mayo has sent a chilling message to El Chapo from prison.
So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll break down the leaked messages, what they say, and why they're so shocking. Next, we'll connect these revelations to the current situation at the US-Mexico border, exploring how these texts might impact border security and drug trafficking. Finally, we'll look ahead at what could happen next. Are we looking at new changes in law enforcement strategies or shifts in cartel operations? Stay tuned to find out. Let's start by revisiting who Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and Ismael El Mayo Zambada are. El Chapo, meaning shorty in Spanish, was the infamous leader of the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world. Known for his dramatic prison escapes and his eventual capture, El Chapo's name has become synonymous with high-stakes drug trafficking and criminal activity.
Born in 1948 in the small village of El Alamo in Sinaloa, Mexico, El Mayo's upbringing was far from the world of luxury and power he would later inhabit. He grew up in a humble farming family, working the land and tending to livestock. The rugged terrain and harsh conditions of rural Sinaloa shaped his resilience and resourcefulness from a young age.
On the other hand, El Mayo has been a crucial figure within the Sinaloa cartel, but has managed to stay more in the shadows compared to El Chapo. While he hasn't grabbed as many headlines, his role behind the scenes has been essential to the cartel's operations. Both men have played significant roles in shaping the global drug trade, influencing everything from smuggling routes to cartel violence. Now, let's dig into the leaked messages themselves. These texts, which have recently come to light, offer an unprecedented glimpse into the conversations between El Chapo and El Mayo while they're behind bars. According to the Latin Times, the messages reveal a lot about their ongoing operations and their current struggles. In these texts, they discuss how they're managing their cartel's affairs from prison, showing that they're still deeply involved in their criminal empire despite their confinement. A few notable points emerge from these messages. The themes in their conversations are a mix of frustration and defiance. They seem determined to maintain control over their cartel activities, even while locked up. The tone of the messages is surprisingly casual for such high-stakes discussions. They communicate with a sense of urgency, but also a familiarity that suggests they're continuing old conversations. Perhaps most revealing is their discussion about using intermediaries to keep their operations running smoothly, which underscores how entrenched their influence remains, even from behind bars.
The El Chapo trial turned into a soap opera as the drug kingpin's messages with his wife and mistress were read out to the room.
A series of letters allegedly penned by El Chapo were recently leaked to the media, revealing his persistent efforts to stay in touch with his family and communicate with key individuals outside the prison walls. The letters, published by Mexican newspaper Milenio, El Chapo appeals for assistance in reaching a lawyer to receive identification documents, asks to see his wife Emma Coronel, connects with his alleged mistress, Lucero Sanchez, an elected official to the Mexican Congress, and gives business orders. The content of the letters shows a strategic attempt to maintain contact with his close associates and family members despite being under strict confinement. Intercepted by prison authorities, his texts reveal a network of communication that raises concerns about ongoing illicit activities orchestrated from behind bars. In a recent leak of letters from Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the notorious drug lord made a heartfelt plea to see his family. He wrote, "I kindly ask that you authorize my wife to visit me and bring my daughters as well." Guzman highlighted that his wife, Emma Coronel, had complied with the house arrest conditions imposed on September 13, 2023. This compliance means she can now travel around the country, as her restrictions are limited to probation. Guzman's letters reveal his deep longing to reconnect with his daughters, who are studying in Mexico and can only visit him during vacations, twice or maybe 3 times a year.
An FBI agent detailed how the agency was able to read thousands of messages between El Chapo and his wife Emma. It's because El Chapo had his IT guy install spyware on his wife's phone, and then the IT guy flipped.
In the exchanges, the drug kingpin warns his wife of police raids, discusses drug shipments, and even says he'll give their daughter an AK-47. Oh, it's a lovely gift.
In another part of the letter, addressed to his wife, El Chapo also touched on more troubling matters. He instructed Coronel to increase the production to make it last and sent his regards to a contact named El Clado. He asked her to ensure that the first sale is on his behalf, revealing his continued involvement in drug trafficking despite his imprisonment. This excerpt has raised eyebrows, linking Coronel with drug trafficking operations and a heroin-producing trafficker in Durango. The letters offer a glimpse into Guzman's ongoing criminal activities and his yearning for family connections amidst his legal troubles. The FBI was able to tap into scores of text messages that Guzman, 61, sent in 2012 because the infamous Mexican drug lord had installed spyware on the phones of his wife, associates, and a purported mistress. FBI agent Stephen Marston told jurors in Guzman's trial that the agency obtained warrants to intercept the messages, which offer scintillating evidence of Guzman's leadership of the multi-billion-dollar Sinaloa cartel. Let's take a closer look at the leaked messages between El Chapo and El Mayo. These texts offer a rare and revealing window into how the Sinaloa cartel is being managed from behind bars. The messages have generated a lot of buzz, and for good reason. They offer significant insights into the inner workings of one of the world's most notorious drug cartels. The leaked messages primarily focus on the management of the cartel's operations. El Chapo and El Mayo discuss various aspects of their criminal activities, including their strategies for maintaining control over drug trafficking routes. They mention using intermediaries to handle day-to-day operations, which highlights their attempts to keep their influence strong even while incarcerated. One striking revelation is their detailed discussions about logistical issues. They talk about how to manage and secure drug shipments and deal with internal disputes within the cartel. This shows that despite their imprisonment, they remain deeply involved in directing and controlling the cartel's activities. The themes in these messages reflect a mix of frustration and defiance. Both El Chapo and El Mayo seem to be grappling with the limitations imposed by their prison sentences, but are determined to maintain their grip on the cartel. Their tone is surprisingly casual, given the gravity of their situation. They communicate with a sense of urgency and familiarity, as if continuing conversations they had before their arrests.
There was a list of people that El Chapo was following, including his mistress. Her name is Augusta Acosta. In those messages, the FBI learned how El Chapo bought his chemicals from China and Germany and smuggled his drugs into the U.S. through Arizona.
The messages also reveal a sense of urgency about maintaining their operations. There's an evident concern about how external pressures, such as increased law enforcement scrutiny, might impact their business. Despite being in prison, their priority remains on how to keep their operations running smoothly and how to manage the fallout from their current circumstances. The leaked texts provide a glimpse into the sophisticated nature of cartel operations. They show how the Sinaloa cartel has adapted its strategies to continue functioning, even with its leaders behind bars. For instance, they discuss the use of encrypted communications and trusted intermediaries to carry out their plans, which underscores the cartel's ability to innovate and stay ahead of law enforcement. Another significant revelation is their acknowledgement of internal challenges. The messages reveal that even top leaders like El Chapo and El Mayo have to manage conflicts and competition within their ranks. This internal strife highlights the complexity of managing such a large and powerful organization from a distance. The leak of these messages has several implications. For one, it shows that the cartel's influence is still strong, even when its leaders are imprisoned. This could lead to increased efforts by law enforcement to disrupt their operations and cut off their communication channels. Moreover, the detailed nature of the messages might provide law enforcement with new leads and insights into how the cartel operates. This could result in more targeted investigations and potentially new strategies to combat drug trafficking. Thus, the leaked messages offer a rare and valuable insight into the Sinaloa cartel's operations and the challenges of managing such an organization from prison. They reveal the resilience and adaptability of the cartel, as well as the ongoing efforts of its leaders to maintain control. This information is crucial for understanding the current state of the cartel and how law enforcement might respond to these revelations.
However, the Sinaloa cartel's expansion has not been without challenges. The cartel has faced fierce competition from rival organizations, most notably the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. These turf wars have led to a surge in violence, with thousands of lives lost in the crossfire.
So, what are the implications of these leaked messages? First and foremost, they show that El Chapo and El Mayo are not just passively awaiting their fates. They're actively trying to manage their cartel's activities, demonstrating the cartel's resilience and their personal involvement despite their incarceration. This indicates that the Sinaloa cartel is still a powerful entity, capable of maintaining its operations even without its leaders physically present. The leak also sheds light on the continued strength of their criminal network. Despite their imprisonment, El Chapo and El Mayo's influence over the cartel remains significant. This suggests that the Sinaloa cartel is not as weakened as some might have thought and continues to exert considerable power in the drug trade. Overall, these revelations highlight the resourcefulness and persistence of organized crime, providing valuable insights into how such networks operate even under severe restrictions. Let's take a look at the current situation at the US-Mexico border. This area has been a hotbed of issues for years, and it's been particularly challenging lately. There are several major concerns: drug trafficking, immigration, and security. Drug trafficking is a big problem because drug cartels, like the Sinaloa cartel, are constantly trying to move illegal substances across the border. This not only fuels addiction issues, but also leads to violence and instability. Immigration is another significant issue, with a high number of people trying to cross into the US from Mexico, seeking better opportunities or fleeing violence. This puts a strain on border resources and creates complex humanitarian and legal challenges. And of course, there's the overarching concern of security, ensuring the border is safe from illegal activities while managing legitimate crossings. Source: Detroit Catholic. Now, let's connect the dots between these border issues and the leaked messages from El Chapo and El Mayo. These messages show that even from prison, the Sinaloa cartel is actively trying to control its operations. This means their influence over drug trafficking hasn't diminished, and they are likely still heavily involved in smuggling drugs across the border. The leaked messages might suggest that the cartel is adjusting its strategies to maintain its drug routes and operations. For example, they could be finding new ways to get their drugs into the US, or dealing with changes in law enforcement tactics. The cartel's continued activity from prison could mean that the border remains a crucial point of focus for their operations, affecting how drugs are trafficked and potentially leading to more conflicts and challenges for border security.
El Chapo writing a letter to the U.S. judge and Chicago native who sent him here. In this English translation filed today and obtained by the I-Team, Chapo says prison authorities are preventing him from receiving attorney documents for new court motions. They always use the excuse that it's because Guzman fled from a Mexican prison, he writes. This is a ridiculous claim used to justify the anomalies.
So, how might law enforcement respond to these revelations? Both U.S. and Mexican authorities are likely to ramp up their efforts to tackle the issues highlighted by these leaked messages. They might increase surveillance and enforcement along the border to disrupt the Sinaloa cartel's operations. This could involve more resources being dedicated to monitoring and intercepting drug shipments and increased cooperation between U.S. and Mexican law enforcement agencies. In terms of policy, there could be changes or updates aimed at strengthening border security. Authorities might implement new strategies to counteract the cartel's influence, such as enhanced technology for tracking illegal activities or stricter controls on border crossings. The goal will be to adapt to the evolving tactics of drug traffickers and better manage the complex issues surrounding the border. Overall, these leaked messages could drive significant changes in how the border is managed and how law enforcement tackles drug trafficking and security challenges. The continued power of the Sinaloa cartel, even from behind bars, underscores the need for ongoing vigilance and adaptation in border policies and enforcement strategies. So, what happens now that these messages are out in the open? Various stakeholders are likely to react in different ways. For government agencies and law enforcement, this leak could be a wake-up call. They might intensify their efforts to crack down on the Sinaloa cartel and similar organizations. Expect to see more resources allocated to surveillance and enforcement, and possibly even new strategies developed to combat drug trafficking. The public's reaction might be one of shock and concern. These messages reveal that the drug trade is not only persistent, but also deeply ingrained, even among those who are imprisoned. This could lead to increased support for stricter border security measures and a greater demand for effective action against drug cartels. As for the Sinaloa cartel itself, the short-term consequences could include increased pressure from law enforcement and disruptions to their operations. They might face more challenges in smuggling drugs across the border and could experience internal strife as their leadership is scrutinized and targeted. In the long term, this leak might force the cartel to rethink and adapt their strategies to continue operating under heightened scrutiny. Looking ahead, these leaked messages could significantly alter how drug trafficking and border security dynamics play out. If the Sinaloa cartel is actively adjusting its methods to maintain control, law enforcement will need to adapt as well. This might lead to more sophisticated tracking techniques, better coordination between US and Mexican agencies, and a stronger focus on disrupting cartel operations before they reach the border. We could also see changes in how border security is managed, with potentially more emphasis on technology and intelligence to anticipate and prevent drug smuggling. The cartel might also shift its tactics, employing new methods or routes to bypass increased security measures. This ongoing game of cat and mouse could lead to more advanced and targeted approaches from both sides. But the impact of this leak goes beyond just the Sinaloa cartel. Other drug cartels and organized crime groups in the region could also be affected. Seeing how the Sinaloa cartel is responding to this pressure might lead rival cartels to adjust their own strategies. They might try to exploit any weaknesses or changes in the cartel dynamics, potentially leading to shifts in power among criminal organizations. The ripple effects could also extend to the broader drug trade. As cartels adapt to new challenges, there might be changes in drug trafficking routes and methods. This could influence the global drug market, potentially leading to shifts in which regions become more prominent in the trade. Therefore, the leaked messages have the potential to cause significant ripples throughout the world of drug trafficking and organized crime. They could lead to more intense law enforcement efforts, changes in border security, and shifts in how various cartels operate. This situation underscores the ongoing complexity and resilience of criminal networks and the need for continuous adaptation in strategies to address them.
El Chapo escape fears are not unfounded. He tunneled out of the last Mexican prison where he was locked up and rode to freedom on an underground motorcycle. Tonight, the I-Team has a letter from El Chapo in which he implies that U.S. prison officials are bullying him because he has escaped before.
All right, let's wrap things up. Today, we've taken a deep dive into the leaked messages from El Chapo and El Mayo. We explored how these texts reveal that, even from prison, these infamous drug lords are still trying to control their cartel operations. We also connected this to the current situation at the US-Mexico border, where drug trafficking, immigration issues, and security concerns are all at play. Finally, we looked at what might happen next, how these revelations could impact border security, law enforcement responses, and even the broader drug trade. This leak is more than just a juicy piece of news. It's a significant development with far-reaching implications. It shows that the power of organized crime is incredibly resilient and continues to adapt, even under severe restrictions. The way these cartels operate and the challenges they pose are constantly evolving, making it crucial for law enforcement and policymakers to stay one step ahead. It's important for us to understand how such leaks can impact international crime and border issues. They provide a glimpse into the ongoing battle between criminal networks and the efforts to control them, highlighting the complexity and persistence of organized crime. I'd love to hear what you think about these leaked messages and their potential impact. Do you think they'll lead to major changes in how border security is handled? What are your thoughts on how law enforcement might respond? Drop your comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into current events and want to stay updated on the latest news and investigations, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content right here on the channel.